welcome everyone. It's really lovely to have you all here for the first time, the first reading we've ever done. If all goes well, hopefully the first of many. So for anyone who doesn't know, we have an amazing lineup of writers tonight. It's you guys. And you'll be reading from Travels and Tribulations, which we put out 2 years ago. It's our third anthology. And you'll also be reading from some of your other books. So everyone in the audience, please do support them all, buy their books, follow them on the social media. And yeah, it's really good stuff, as you're about to hear. The one thing I'll say is please just try and keep your mics off when you are not reading. And yeah, so I think one of the first things we were going to do is pass you over to James, who is our new guest editor. Say hello, James.
Hi.
And you're going to be the guest editor for our next anthology, aren't you? So,
Allegedly.
which is opening for submissions very soon. So please just tell us a little about that.
Yes, I do have my little document about it up in the other window. Yes, so the latest anthology will be entitled Night Terrors. It's an anthology of the drunk and disorderly, the debaucherous, and the Dionysian. It's it's all about nightlife, the kind of joy, the revelry, the kind of beauty of going out and losing yourself in the night, but also the kind of, the dangerous, the messy, the kind of chaotic sides of it as well. It's all of this raveled together because nightlife can be a time for catharsis, release, letting go of the drudgery of our day jobs, these things that make our lives kind of a bit dull and painful. It's, we can dress up, we can get inebriated or not, and dance, have a good time, whatever, let go of everything. But also, who doesn't have stories of those nights where everything's gone wrong? There's been fights, there's been spew all over the streets and all of that. So yeah, it's all, it's just this kind of look at nightlife in all of its forms. It's it's kind of inspired by various nightlife scenes throughout the ages, the disco scene, the club kid scenes, the rave scenes, things like that. But also, modern nightlife, the kind of club nights and things that we go to nowadays. But yeah, so we're looking for poetry, fiction, and also artwork, visual artwork for the first time. So anything that you have or want to create that's around the theme of nightlife is very welcome. That was very rambling.
No, that was actually really good. Yeah. So it's we're quite excited to get started on that. I think we're looking to open at the end of February, aren't we? So yeah, we're just putting together the last bits with our guidelines, but yeah, that's something to look forward to. So if there's anyone who you think would be interested in those themes and submitting to that anthology, then please, yeah, do let them know.
You do the best anthologies. That is such a great theme, and really exciting. Cool.
Well, yeah, we're nice. They were nice because that were your idea, weren't it, James? And I was like, yes, let's do that.
It was one of those moments of like, I came up with the title Night Terrors, as I was like, I have to do something called that. Oh, it's going to be this. It was one of those, like, it all just kind of fell together. So I'm very, very excited about it.
Yeah, so I'm sure it'll be a very exciting project. So we're looking forward to getting started on that. I suppose that's our major news. I suppose we don't have too much of a news. All I would say is, yeah, I think that's what we're on with. So shall we get into it? Is D.W. Evans in? Ah, yes.
Evening.
Hello.
How you doing?
Oh, headphones falling out. Yeah, it's lovely to have you here. Thank you for coming.
A pleasure to be invited. Thank you.
So yeah, if you're ready to read, I'm doing.
Right here. Well, I'll read the couple that's in the anthology, and then Paul, you wanted a couple of others, right, to make it up to 5
Yeah,
minutes?
yeah. I'll just do your introduction.
Thank you, sir.
D.W. Evans lives in Jersey. He has won the Alan Jones Prize 2019 and 2021, been shortlisted for O Vale's 5 Words 2020 and 2021, and the Wells Open Poetry Competition 2021. Highly commended by Acumen 2020 competition and Segura 2021. His poems have appeared in various publications, including Frogmore Papers, Acumen, The Honest Ulsterman, Epoch, A3 Review, Madrigal, and Drag.
I'm humbled. Righty-ho. We'll go with Blowout first, if I may. Blowout. You deny you're satisfied. Runes of 4 set courses sprawl like Knossos. What harm finishing a few grapes, the smallest bottle of ouzo, a thimble, so described. The copper plate D of your gut crests the waistband of those beach fit shorts, bought big for comfort, to accommodate a bit of give for blowouts. And this the 5th of a 7-night stay, a routine swiftly adopted. 2 swift pints down to face the steep incline, a stop halfway at a bar even cheaper than the last. The view of the bay below enhanced by some cottage hand-crushed essence, green and colour, distilled in lineal sequency, grandmother to granddaughter, spanning back to a time of wax wings and deadly flight. Singles mean doubles here, generosity and cheapness swap and blur, pass fast like the cup with the P of finding the lady card. You can't remember ordering or eating or any conversation too. Just stuff came in liters. So after the uphill, downhill was bound to happen. Put briefly, always a flair for retro, you sent a vintage view of Killarney quartered to do the job. Edges licked by brush, bright blues and cloudless, hills a brutal bottle green. Ladies' view, the house, the lake, all on a summer's day, decades ago, faked out in dayglow. 1/4 ogling a rose, saturated and colour lab refined. Postcards have no curtains. Curt, bijou, little room for discursive sentiment or plausible excuses. The reverse is foxed, ginger spotted. Here you share with the world a hackneyed Dear John. Little wonder the postman waited, looked back twice, like he never does. Right, this one's Inherit the Earth, and I think Stan's going to take it, but it's a bit of a barnstormer, so bear with me. Inherit the Earth. Who can really own a field? I ask you. What does it mean to have the title of tracts of earth? Hold a handful of dirt, fill pockets like window boxes, tour the turf on a horse, round hemmed edges of a pretty rolling lawn, then ducal and expansive shout, "Me estate, sir!" Is this possession? Suppose we declare to own is to wear, sod off and roll it into cloth. Have land stitched to your ever-shifting measurements. Here's where fallow slicers come in useful. Wear your field brown and sturdy, plough ridged tweedy, sedate, later seedy green, explosive, wear it green, verdant dandy, a pagan sex-sappy demigod. Jacket shoulders wide and generous, broad enough for tents to pitch, solstice camping, bonfire dancing, fields worn like the bladed fur of eligibility, tufted, foxy, or fan-tailed like a peacock on the make, all show, clover poker, a purple-dotted dowry promising increase, well-matched mating, keys to combines, acres over acres. Happy jacket fields, spider webs sparkling brightly like summer lightning hijacking a sunny day, flashy though stylish. Wear a field in corn court yellow, grain-eared like gold panned, treasured surplus, sharp, caressed, sickle cut, not sifted. Land prepped by the gleaning, The pre-gloved hand bleeding, muck-scraping, labouring lasses school-freed, shattering nails and knees, back-bending breaking, paid pence for the length of the joy of short living. Does the field feel heavy now you wear it? The mantle pressing the burden of titular owning, bearing you down through strata, the pull of the magnetic centre? Remember well, temporal tenant, the field outlives you. Use it kindly. Have you room for another, or is that it?
Sorry, I know I'm on mute. Yeah, no, we could definitely have some more. Yeah, you've got a bit longer.
Okay, this is a miserable one. Hadley Ray. An axe makes quick work of the old chair, the one they found him in. Sandy coloured foam bursts through tartan fabric, bulging like blubber that burns black in the backyard oil drum. This house bears the tells of a loner's home, the inevitable effect of neglect on a one-man habitat. True home, if the heart's a compass, was always a walkaway, a place of creeks and tides, the companionable mire at the edges of estuary. Sounds of salt marsh and mudflats rush straight and loud, filling up parsimonious rooms as clearance men evaluate a dead man's movables, a personal history. Dark-bellied Brent geese, raucous in flocks, brag bray grazing the dense beds of eelgrass as a pencil cuts along, softly recording, calculating. Stains the colour of estuarine silt spot the ceiling, buckets never emptied under a roof never fixed. Seaweed on a lintel, raincoats or sun hats, samphire, purslane, sea aster. A hemisphere splits and slips into another, cracks at the equator, a slow reveal of a bottled core, bourbon, malt, gin, something yellow, untouched, picked up, brought back from Franco's Spain. Might make 50, maybe 55. Bird books and binoculars always fetch a few bob. Did he fly the length of Hadley Ray? Remember for a moment how air tasted there? The owl spectral through mist, elegant at hunt, the pelting call of the whimbrel over bleak waters. He was sipping whiskey, recording a bird song on the stereo. His glass dropped and rolled. That do you?
Thank you very much for that. It's always lovely to hear more stuff after I've read things from the anthology, and it's always lovely to hear it out loud because it's always different to how everyone reads it differently. So that was wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So next up, we have Simon Alderwick. Simon Alderwick lives between West Wales and the Philippines. His poetry has appeared in Magma, Ink, Sweat and Tears, Anthropocene, Poetry Salzburg, Frogmore Papers, Acropolis and elsewhere. His debut pamphlet, Ways to Say We're Not Alone, was published by Broken Sleep Books in February 2024.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I'm going to read, this is my poem from the anthology. I did it my way. Two stray dogs fucking in the street. Ramshackle houses built on top of each other. Basketball courts and motorcycle exhausts. We rose late in the day like smoke from a barbecue. A rooster crying, leaves swept up and burned. Everywhere you look, a stream of hardship. 6 bags of plastic dumped in a river. Where kids played, men fished, women washed jewelry. I sat in front of an electric fan for $3 an hour, enough to buy a Lechon Manok and a case of beer. We hired the videoke machine on my birthday. When my buyout killed my goat, he asked me if I wanted the testicles. I said no thanks, I've got my own. Later, after I hit you, I rode my motorbike into oncoming traffic. The monsoon fell and I was thrown overboard. I woke up naked and penniless on another island. I keep telling myself it was just and worth the bloodshed. I'm going to read another poem that is exclusive for you guys. It's similar. I wrote it in a similar time and place and space. This is called Unoriginal Pirate Material. sailing into a never-ending shoreline. To the east, pure gold, palm trees, white sand, and turquoise seas. Baby turtles trekking to the edge, where toothless sharks and playful dolphins abound amongst lobsters and schools of Nemo. To the west, nightlife, shanty towns, open sewers, one road that ends all over the place. The locals take it in turns to drill into concrete. When they're not drilling, they sit around tables playing mahjong, mechanically passing a shot glass and a bottle of gin. Refill, salute, shot, pass. When they're not drinking, they drill the road or hold their roosters. This rooster he championed, one tells me, strutting in his polo shirt and Levi jeans. I've forgotten if he was the mayor or the chief of police or a tricycle driver. But we're brothers later when I comfort his loss. Just before that, I waded through a popular song behind the Ubi traffic jam of sunset, eating buko panda ice cream, watching all the people doing what they do with whoever they have with them, just like swimming in the view. Just going to read a couple of poems from my pamphlet that's out with Broken Sleep next Thursday. So I thought I'd keep on the travel theme. This first one's called Nothing Like the Brochure. Looking for something uncomplicated, the agent said it was untouched, a virgin forest. We had to go a long way to find a corner of the island where mystery met adventure. A cold garden under a waterfall. We bought our ticket, stood in line to tap the sauce, to kiss the mouth. Her lips were cracked, her teeth were stained, her tongue was black from sugar. When she laughed, we were told to move over to the foyer. Thirsty, we bought a soda, waited for the tide to take us home. I've got time for one more?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So this one is called Underneath the Waterfall. It's kind of about a day. So underneath the waterfall. The tree is ancient. A young monk met a tiger here. A widow lit a candle. We fell off our bikes, scraped our legs. Not all prayers are answered. Walking through jungle until we make it. Slide into water, swim to the fall. This would be a perfect place for a photo, a memory, or to be for a moment. Your body looks perfect, covered in droplets. I'm sure there's a fable, a sleeping goddess. One day all of us will meet again. By then I have stopped saying sorry. I add it to my food. You can hear it when I speak. But sometimes no one visits this lake, and the flower blooms and dies for nothing. Sometimes a prayer is just a thought. But when I think of you and how we checked the bikes for damage, I think it could have been a perfect day. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Simon. It's lovely to hear some of your new work, and I think that your collection is definitely a must-read. So everyone get on over to Broken Sleep Books and pick up a copy of Ways to Say We're Not Alone. Once again, it's lovely to hear like work that I've heard before, and it in like a different. It's always different to hear it performed. So that was a real privilege. Thank you. Okay, our next reader. Lara Frankena's poems have appeared in publications such as Poetry News, Oxford Poetry, and Magma, and were longlisted for the Abachi Prize in 2021, 2022, and 2023. She lives in London.
Hi, thank you. I'll start with the two poems from the anthology. Ancient History. Wide-hipped, small-waisted, and well-endowed, my 6-foot-tall friend is a total liability across Southern Europe. Our visit to the Colosseum attracts an Italian army troop. 2 by 2, they throw their arms around our shoulders as we pose in front of the arena. Abbiamo fame, I proclaim, when a car pauses by the curb during siesta. And we are transported to a Calabrian kitchen. One young man serves pasta, as another perches on the counter to watch us eat. Our chef produces a ribbon and carefully restrains the long blonde hair that menaces my friend's dish. Pasta slips from her spoon, tinged pink by her lipstick. Paris is up next. We'll always have Paris. As we walk in Hyde Park, my friend's husband asks where we met. We laugh because we met at work. To clear the cafe at the end of the night, music was switched off and porn blared over the speakers. Later, the projector got turned on. We sat side by side with our backs to the film, eating our employee meals to the soundtrack of Oh, Oui, and No, 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 while barmen stared at the wall above our heads.
Thank you very much for that. It's wonderful to be able to hear lots more of your stuff, lots of very well-traveled poems there. And they've always got some great atmosphere, I've found. That was wonderful. Thank you. Our next reader, unfortunately, has been kept behind at work, which he anticipated. So he sent us some recordings, which I'll just get up on now.
"2003 by Franco Gabriel. O vacant horizons and star-blinding sands, those endless afternoons of lemon gelato, over-encompassed by unrelenting cyan skies. Slowly flows the river of time, nor near, yet nor far. Keep talking, we said. Parallel dimensions yet reign of a utopian past where conversations and wine once flowed. The temperate breezy mornings of pear juice and rustic omelette sandwiches. Manja, manja, she insisted, to which I so willingly complied. Not far beyond the western gulf did the lotus waters wait for my eyes only, a faraway land of visions and ancient wisdom. Unearthly flora accompanied with the ruins of time. Deep royal blue coastline of saintly wonder and pure holy wine secretes the foundations of passion, taste and soul within me. Your unbreakable enigma eternally present. You'll never leave me. Not ever, not till the end of time. You sands of time, where has the innocence gone? The anarchic Sundays and winter refuge, where in this universe have you ventured? You canvas pale blue skiffs, backed by hazy high mountains, stay with me always, martyred in my being forever and ever. O vacant horizons and star-blinding sands, we shall meet again someday.
I just realised I'd forgot to read his bio. That was Franco Gabriel. Franco Gabriel is a poet based in the northwest of England. In his spare time, he enjoys exploring new cultures, sport and fitness, and travelling across the UK by air as a private pilot. And then he sent us one, not from the anthology.
An Ode to Cynicism by Franco Gabriel. Stuck steadfast in sin's eternal flame, praying to be extinguished. Why do we persevere without resistance, like a sheep in the centre of a herd? To see the nostalgic naked sands of past dreams, but for the ever-recurring beam back to the machine that is England. What should I do? Where should I go? Who with? Why? Hopefully one day I'll know, but for now, it'll be a 99p mayo chicken and a Pepsi Max, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Franco, for sending those across when you see this later, no doubt. I think we'll just take a short intermission and let's do 5 minutes or 10 minutes. What do people think? Any preference? 5? Yeah.
5.
All right then. Yeah, all right then. So we'll be back at 5 minutes past 8. Thank you everyone who's read so far, and we really look forward to hearing everyone else. Thank you very much. Right. Hello, everyone who's come back. Still a few of us aren't here yet, but I'll just talk a little bit about the press for anyone who's quite new to it, or just in general. So, Acid Bath Publishing mainly publishes corrosive fiction and poetry. So what that means to us is stuff that really cuts through and you really feel it. Burns at your core, I'd say. We've been going at it for nearly 4 years now, and we started in 2020 with our first book that we did, which was Wage Slaves, an anthology of the underemployed. It seemed absolutely necessary at the time because we were all working terrible jobs during the pandemic. A lot of us were denied that as an opportunity, unfortunately. And then we followed that up with this one, which was Worst Best Years Student Life Anthology. And I think we were kind of going about a theme of people's experiences that were sort of drastically changed by lockdowns and just the general social upheaval at the time. And then that comes back to the next one, which is what we're celebrating today, Travels and Tribulations. I think this one was really interesting because we went to travel writing at a time when people really weren't able to travel. So you get a different perspective, as you've heard already. Yeah, so if he's back yet, we'll pass on to our next reader. Are you there, Wayne? Maybe not.
I am here.
Oh, yeah, lovely. Yeah, I'll just introduce you. Wayne Connolly lives in the northeast of England. His first short story collection, The Gift, was published by Pontburn Press in January 2023.
Thanks very much, Paul. Thanks for all your work, all these publications, and for bringing us together this evening. It's great to see you all and to meet you at last. So I'm going to read firstly my story from Travels and Tribulations. Second story this evening from Borneo. This is called The Longhouse. Cam led me along the walkway between the wooden buildings of the Longhouse. The sun shone directly overhead, and the bamboo planks burned through the thin soles of my shoes. I followed close behind and watched the sweat seep from his hairline and run down the back of his neck, darkening the collar of his shirt. When we passed an open door, he clapped his hands at a yellow shape lying under the porch step. Look, he said, even the dogs want shade on a day like this. Everyone else in the group had gone whitewater rafting, but as I'd asked Cam a lot of questions about himself and his family, he offered to show me his home, and I wanted to spend more time with him, so I was happy to stay behind. As we walked along, he pointed to a single-story building which stood further away among the trees, surrounded by forest ferns and shrubs. An Englishman lives there, he said. He married a woman from our village and built that house for her. What does he do here? He's very old, he said. His wife died a long time ago, and we take care of him. He's part of our family now. At the end of the Longhouse, we stopped outside a small windowless building. Cam ducked under the low doorway and stepped into the gloom. I followed him inside and blinked at shards of daylight that pushed through the gaps between the walls and the roof. He stood with his back to me, muttering rhythmically under his breath. The room seemed to be empty, but as I walked past him, I saw a small metal cage suspended from a beam at the same height as his head. His hands were raised, palms upwards, and he was staring at the white face of a human skull behind the bars. When he finished speaking, he took a key from his pocket and unlocked a door at the side of the cage. He took the skull and held it out in front of him, looking at it closely from all sides. I had to apologize for disturbing him, he said, to show respect. Who is it? I don't know for sure, he said. One of our ancestors, I think, or maybe an enemy from an old battle, he said with a smile. We're Christians now and pray in church, but it's important that we keep our traditions. And Cam rolled the skull gently around in his hands. He looked very still and calm, as though he was thinking of things far away from his work as a tourist guide, driving a minibus, and learning languages at night school. Is there just the one? There were others, he said, but they were stolen. That's why we keep him in this cage. We look after him and he protects the longhouse. The skull glowed in the darkness of the room as Cam caressed it, and I wanted to hold it in my own hands, to feel the smooth surface of the bone. I wanted to wrap my fingers around him and touch the cool depths of his thoughts, to press my thumbs into the hollows of his eyes and see the forest paths he had walked, and the waterfalls and pools where he dived and swam. I wanted the sharp edge of his jaw to draw blood across my palm. Can I hold him? I said. No, Cam said, you don't know the words. You can teach me the words, Cam. No, only the shaman can teach the words, and he's not been here for years. Cam put the skull back in its cage and turned the key, and we went outside into the blaze of the afternoon. My polo shirt and chinos were damp with sweat, and my shoes were beginning to blister my heels. I looked over to the house in the trees and saw an old man in a white vest sitting in the shade of his veranda. He raised his hand, and I waved back. I wonder if he knows the words, I thought. I wonder how long you have to stay here before you can learn the words. I've got 3 more very short stories to read from my collection, The Gift, and they're all on the theme of travel. And the first one goes back over 40 years when I was a student. I really am that old. It's called Martello Tower. I should have known it was time to go home when I was knocked over by a security van outside Trinity College. It hit me square on my right side and threw me across the road. A few people ran over and helped me to my feet. Someone fetched my glasses from the gutter. Luckily, they weren't broken, just bent and scratched like the rest of me. I staggered away, muttering, "Thank you. I'm okay. Really, I'm okay." I must have been stunned because I went into the nearest shop, bought a postcard and scribbled, "Gabrielle, you won't believe what just happened to me." Then I remembered that she'd dumped me, and that's why I'd been travelling around Ireland on my own on the trip we should have made together. I was there to prove something to myself, or to her. I tore up the postcard and threw it away. The whole journey had been wrong from the start, for when I was taken away for questioning by a special branch at the ferry port in Fishguard. It was 1981 at the height of the hunger strikes, and I must have looked conspicuous as a young man travelling to Ireland alone, especially with a name like Connolly. It didn't get any better. I wandered the streets of Cork for 3 days without speaking to anyone. I arrived in Galway during races week and everywhere was full. Eventually I found a room that I had to share with a God-bothered American who spent a long time telling me where I'd gone wrong with my life. Then I got badly sunburned walking from Gort to Coole Park, where I sat among the reeds on the edge of the lake, hoping to see Yeats's Wild Swans. In Limerick, I was bitten by fleas in a cinema as I watched Clash of the Titans. That was a desperate choice, just to get out of the rain. On a cross-country train, my bag fell from the luggage rack onto a group of men who were playing cards. Their money and drinks flew everywhere. I was shoved over and called an Egypt. So by the time I reached Dublin, I was already battered and raw. And then the security van hit me. It was my last day, and I'd saved the highlight of the trip to the end, a visit to Sandymount to climb the stair of Joyce's Martello Tower. I limped to a bus at Townsend Street. I just missed one, waited half an hour for the next. We got as far as Irishtown when the bus broke down. I was a lost cause. It was a lost cause. I crossed the road and caught the next bus back to the city. At 8 o'clock that evening, I staggered onto the Liverpool ferry with a lump on my head and a bruise the size of Ireland and as black as a pint of Guinness blooming on my right thigh. Gabrielle, I thought, I made it on my own and it was fine. Everything was fine. Okay, moving ahead just a few years to the 90s, to New York. Excuse me. This one's called Free Hugs. We walked along by Central Park until we came to the right spot, but still we couldn't be sure. It doesn't look much, Cindy said. I thought it would be bigger. I asked a man who was passing, "Excuse me, is that the Dakota building?" "Yeah, that's it," he said, "but you couldn't afford to live there." He looked at my Patti Smith t-shirt. Neither could she. Cindy looked up and down the street and through the railings of the park. "So what do we do now?" she said. "Let's go to Chinatown and buy a $10 watch," I said. "Why do you want to do that?" "So when we go home and people look at my big gold Rolex, I can say, it's a $10 watch. I got it in New York. Anyway, we haven't got much money left to do anything else." So we took the subway downtown. After I bought the biggest watch I could find and strapped it on my wrist, we walked along Canal Street. Near the corner of Broadway, a group of people gathered around a man who was sitting at a small table. He pushed 3 cups around on the tabletop, rolling a silver ball between them and muttering, "Just put your money down. Tell me where it is, just put your money down." A young guy in a cheap brown suit stepped up and put $5 on the table. The man covered the ball and moved the little cups around slowly with the tips of his fingers. He stopped and the young guy tapped a cup. The man lifted it. There was nothing underneath. The young guy scratched his head, bit his lip, put $10 more down. The cups moved. He tapped. He lost again. "Cindy," I said, "it's easy. What's he doing? I can see where it is. It's easy." The young guy turned away and the man started again. "Just put your money down." I took $10 out of my pocket and put it on the table. He covered the ball and moved the cups backwards and forwards, looping them around, weaving a lazy pattern. I watched my cup. I never took my eyes off it. When he stopped, I tapped the one with the ball. He lifted it, but it was empty. Then he lifted one of the other cups, and there it was. I stepped back, blinking. What happened? What?" "You bet, mister," he said, "and you lost." The guy in the brown suit stood next to him, grinning. Cindy looked at me and then walked away, and I scuttled after her. "Where are you going?" I said. "Remember that girl near the park?" she said, "the one with the cardboard sign." "Yeah." "You remember what it said?" "Yeah, it said free hugs." "I'm going back to see if she's still there," she said. "I'm going to get a free hug. What are you going to do?" And finally, bringing my life almost up to date. This is called a hat, if I can find it. A hat. Paul said we should wear hats. So there you go. This is called a hat. Maybe he'll buy a hat. A wide-brimmed white hat with a black band to wear with a silk and linen suit. Then he can sit on a terrace in the sun drinking cold beer as he did in Phnom Penh, watching the pimps and dealers going about their business in the street below. Or the Stetson he tried on in a store in Austin where the owner laughed and said he'd never be a cowboy. Perhaps a kufi from Marrakesh, a Basque beret, or the tweed flat cap that would turn him, finally, into his father. He pulls at his scalp and drops loose clumps of hair into the sink. No need for the razor that sits on the bathroom shelf with a can of shaving foam. Whichever hat he wears now to cover his baldness, he knows he will never travel again. He first fell in Oslo, then collapsed again in Riga. In Sitges, he sat on a hill overlooking the bay and wept because he knew it was the last time he would see the town. And now he's in a small room, and the only trip he can make, the one that drains all his energy, is the long, shuffling walk to the toilet. The foreign accents he hears are those of doctors on their rounds and the nurses who bring him medicines and food. He never asks where they're from because he's the stranger now, a guest in this antiseptic place. He dries his head and studies himself in the mirror. The long jaw, protruding ears, his father's nose, and his pale, bare scalp. And the best thing about losing all your body hair to chemotherapy, he's learned, is that it takes much less time to dry yourself after a shower. And it's good to know that every hard journey has some compensations. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Wayne. That was a beautiful reading, and I find it's got lots of very sharp imagery. It's wonderful. Is the gift sold out?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
I
Yeah.
printed 200 copies last year, and they've all gone. Whether there'll be a second printing, I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think there's any knocking about any bookshops?
No, there aren't. No, the
Yeah.
one bookshop took it, one local bookshop, and they sold out. So wait until they turn up at some ridiculous price on Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah, well, congratulations on that. And yeah, as Simon says, do a second printing. But yeah, it's lovely that we got to hear some of that tonight, and lovely narration. Next up, we've got Sonia Burns. Sonia Burns is a poet based in the East Midlands. Her debut chapbook, Umbraphilia, was published in November 2021 by Bearded Badger Publishing, with the support of Arts Council funding. Her poems have also been published in Ink, Sweat and Tears, 192 magazine, and in several anthologies, most recently Acid Bath Publishing's Pocket Anthology of Addiction and Recovery, published in June 2023. Sonia was an associate poet for Derby Poetry Festival 2023 and co-facilitates the regular printing. Oh dear. And co-facilitates the regular Poetry Praise Sandwich event in Derby with fellow poet Camille Macaulay. It's my own handwriting, that's what that was.
Aye, thank you. Thanks for the intro, Paul, and thanks for arranging this. Nice to be here and get a chance to hear everyone's work and have a bit of a read. Yeah, so I'll start with my poem from the anthology. It's not as far-flung as some of what we've heard tonight. So some of the funding I got for putting this chapbook together, I used to, I wanted to go and explore places of childhood significance. So this poem is inspired by a visit to Whitehaven in Cumbria, where I partly grew up. So this is called Ode to England. You are darkly compelling, repellent, a seagull pecking through 5 p.m. vomit. You are cigarette butts and shops shut up, stolen bikes and optimistic scooters broken and abandoned on your street corners. You are an empty plastic swing in a garden sloping steeply down to another busy road. You are daylight drug deals round the back of takeaways, motorways and fly tip laybys, scaffolding and boarded up buildings, codeine dependency and long-term sickness, fat men in football shirts with unfinished business, your stale air crackles with Brexit and violence. Adorned with betting shops and B&M bargains, you guard your monuments to abhorrence. You are stasis, the same after 40 years. Constant struggle with little reward, a woman pushing a buggy up a hill, day after day, again and again. Can you hear me all right? Because I'm getting a message to say my internet connection is unstable.
Yeah, it did cut out briefly, but yeah, it's back now.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I am going to read one from the Addiction Anthology that I mentioned. So yeah, this is a poem called 10 Green Bottles. It's a shame you can't see it because it's a concrete poem and it's in the shape of a bottle, but never mind. Cigarettes, small stools, an ashtray, a shared smile. We sit when you get home from work, drink beer, our kitchen table, my classroom for life, and where I first taste wheat gold German beer. The bubbled effervescence makes me smile. I've no idea how it will harm my life. We propagate the misery of life. I'm helpless. Watch addiction steal your smile. Find myself opening another beer, but beer drowns life, carves broken bottle smile. Thank you. And I'm going to go back to the to my chat book, which isn't really available anywhere anymore, unfortunately, or apart from me. But I think I've only got about 3 copies left. So this poem is called Inconceivable. Because you are a dead end, a cul-de-sac where there is no one home, just an abandoned bicycle on a lawn, wheels spinning slowly in afternoon sunlight. Because you are vacant, a cold water flat with no tenant, a to-let sign behind your eyes, waiting for a visitor you don't remember inviting. Because you are unbroken code, an enigma that will remain unsolved, impenetrable jargon, hieroglyphics, womanhood written in invisible ink. Because you are barren and bewildering, the frozen maze at the end of The Shining, a caretaker who does not care, a lonely song with a sad ending. Because you are as shallow as a puddle on a farmyard track, a pond where the frog spawn will never hatch, no Moses basket hidden in your rushes, Ophelia drowning amongst your water lilies. Because you are lost blueprint, unflicked switch, a biological clock which does not tick, a hand grenade with the pin intact, slowly corroding as the years pass. And I'm just going to finish with a bit of a cheerier kind of travel themed one. So this is another, this was another kind of research trip back to a place of childhood significance, other end of the country. So this is was inspired by a visit to Broadstairs in Kent, where yeah, I've got a lot of family down there and used to go down there for seaside holidays. So this is a touch of the old magic. It is the same, but smaller. The inflatable giraffe bouncy castle droops a little now, as I droop in the surprising heat, queuing for a cone outside Morelli's, behind children hyped up on sugar anticipation. The breeze is empty, caressing, muting the hubbub inside where it is the 1950s, all pink and pearl and gleaming Sunday glasses, marbled formica and soft banquettes. Silver ashtrays adorn pavement tables and red neon exclaims at the sunshine through a haze of petrol fumes and piss. In the distance, a tiny person paddles out to sea on a board against waves which glitter like a promise. I get my cone and walk the promenade past 20p slots and memorial benches. A round-faced boy smirks at his friend as they sit on, in memory of Arthur Smith. Pistachio ice cream drips down my wrist. I scan teenage names chalked on candy floss beach huts, see 14-year-old me in a Pixies t-shirt. Whose name would I have scrawled nearly 30 years ago? A young couple drink pints of cold beer and eat frito misto on the harbour wall. An older couple on another bench eat cold chips in silence, and maybe they've done this every Saturday for a decade. Families wrestle, dress, reticent children, and I think about how my brothers hold their babies. Kids call and seagulls screech and people play frisbee. A man shouts, "Let's see if he's still got it." A touch of the old magic. I breathe in seaweed and sunbaked rocks and watch the waves. They just keep coming and coming and coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. That was a brilliant, energetic reading, and I think I loved the nostalgic feel, especially of the last one. Is your chat book, where can people get it? Just message you?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that?
Uh,
But you've only got a
basically,
few left. Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah,
unfortunately, like the publisher's kind of not really doing anything anymore, and
Yeah.
yeah, so I got all the last copies of him, and yeah, so
yeah.
unfortunately, I've got like 3
But
left,
yeah, you
but
know, yeah, the three left. Yeah,
getting
so
there first.
everyone get rushing into your inbox. Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Paul.
Wonderful stuff. And I do very much like I love all the comments everyone's putting in the chat. It's really nice to, I think we have a good sort of community sort of forming. Just I think it's a shame we've not done this anytime sooner, really. But yeah, it's good we're doing it now. Next up, James Rance is a poet, collage artist, and performer based in York. His poetry takes inspiration from pagan spirituality and dreams, delving into previously unexplored aspects of the self for examination and analysis. Influenced by surrealism, imagism, psychedelia, and the slightly absurd, his work aims to give the reader strange sensations and vivid emotion. His collages have been used as cover art for several ABP books, and he regularly performs his poetry at events hosted by Forge Zine and York Howler's open mic poetry nights. Hello, Brianna. You all right? Yeah. Sorry about that. He regularly performs his poetry at events hosted by Forge Zine and York Howler's open mic poetry nights. His previous work has been published by Valley Press and York Centre for Writing, Green Teeth Press, Pilot Press, and elsewhere.
Thank you, Paul. So I'm going to do my poems from Travels and Tribulations. Obviously, that's what we're here for. And then I'm going to do at least one, if not two, from Wheel of Light, my collection, also published by Acid Bath. So we'll get to that. So this is A Pilgrimage to the Grave of Sylvia Plath. 1. Lights. Blue. You rolled beneath your sticky lilac sheets like a body cast into a river. Pink barrel rolling, bound up in pondweed. A lady has spoken through the door in a quiet, wavering voice, her nightgown drenched with sweat. The bright heron circles above the clouds, 9 fingers on each hand, 9 below the water, 9 between your ears. It sings in the morning, swings back and forth across the sunrise. You fill your bags with squeezings from the burn mark on your hand, then wake under the haze, already dressed and already with both backs against the front door. 2 fields, red. There is a flame above the farmland, a swollen tumor of cloud that hangs low and brushes clean the heads of sheep. The walls are beginning to come down, and you shall have to pin the stones on wires to save your fingers holding them. A moment. A pair sat together on the crest of a red wave of grass. A picnic on prayer mats. A conversation with God. You would have asked him to join you on the train, but as late he has not been answering the phone. 3 dreams. He runs across your back like chocolate, the boy in the corner of the room. Eats spiderwebs clasped and wrapped around his knuckles. His face is deep and red, a rose stiffening in the garden and unfurling again. A paper camellia grown over a hooked beak made of hard sugar. He wants to watch you, to drink the breath from behind your nose, but he would swallow you whole to do so. You dreamed that she pointed to the 3. This one wrong, and that. Take the middle one and plant it just above her knees, and the gates will open. The heads of poppies will loosen in the fields, and she will grow within you, as she has grown within thousands before you. 4 skeletons. The dragon died 500 years ago, but calls forward even now. The dragon died, but speaks through birch trees, holds your hand as you skitter over gravestones. Claws can't find purchase here, but loom above the village. A brother and a sister traced the storm with nimble fingers, waiting under curling flaps of bronzed earth. They shall sing of a sunlit blade, or an altar ringed with jasper while you dig your way from dragon's mouth to poet's head and dragon's mouth. Jesus fixed rusting rail to wall and left it there to rot. 5. Bloodstone. When you finally find her, her words hang from you like rain in your hands, like radiation-damp skin sagging across your bones. You scurry over like a gilded beetle, a flush of jewels spilling around your limbs, leaving their stains upon the image of the time. Would you return to this moment if you could? It matters not. The yellow smoke, the bitten wisp of frankincense rolls in wide circles as you speak to her. She hears you, you think, but you won't dream of her again. You plant a seed, black and glistening, longer than your hand, and wait for the green to push its way through. Good lord, I can't find this other one. So I should have folded the pages down. Maybe I would have planned ahead. So this is A Drowning in the Churchyard. The journey is brutal. How strong the earth. How strong the feathered moor we make our path to cross. The heather, gilded and flashing, bows its head to greet us, as though I am not myself, rather a jewel-encrusted pharaoh, announced and welcomed with joy, with reverence, in the dripping honeycomb of the ruined abbey, the black crust that dangles sweet nectar above our heads. In the house of God, the priest raged and spat like a wild dog, and the ruins became a thick tapestry of lichens and scented mosses. The priest's vitriol stirred up a heavy shroud of storm far above us, and we wept as we recited Bible verses, or the myth of kind-hearted Prometheus, or the tragedy of the King in Yellow. While we shook, the walls of the abbey rose up around us in the air and filled the air with glistening curls of frankincense and storax. There is a man, clutching a journal, standing in the doorway. His tears hot and bulbous. He beckons me to follow him, and I watch him wander out to the cliffside. He has come out here, he tells me, to be free. Rain begins to draw the land and the sky together, and the man opens his arms wide. I see the look of calm on his face, the absence of worry and fear, the absence of all that drives us to be good, virtuous people. He's blissful, as he calls out to the wind, decorating it with honorable names and titles, tearing out pages from his journal and watching as his writing is carried off with a cold breath and plunged into the heaving wheel of the sea. I feel an urge come upon me. Jump. Now. How strong the ocean. How strong the desire to gaze up at the sunlight as I drift into the black eternity. I allow myself to sink into the sensation that flashes along my vertebrae, to feel and to know that if I leapt from the cliffside, nobody would notice. Nobody would ever have to know. The book is empty now. Its pages melted and remade into pale frills, woven into the lace that froths over the tops of the waves. The man is frozen to death where he stands, and his soul, by the means of his passing, is purified. Thank you. So the next one or two, depending on time, is the From Wheel of Light, my really weird and horrifying collection. I'm going to apologize in advance to if there are anybody here who speaks Russian for my horrendous pronunciation of the Russian words in this poem. So the title is Kharovot. The evil will be endless. A bristling light, a sinner's finger, a blue finger pushed through the earth. Where can we go from here? Only where they send us. What shall we see? We shall see nothing. The man has changed color under the sunlight. He's turned from purple to yellow. He has seen the glow of the moon behind the sun's halo, and she has gazed back. The babushka was frozen stiff in her own garden. The cat's head swelled and dropped off as it slept by the window. The evil flows out from the land, not from the sky. In our village, there is putrefaction before death. When we remove our gloves, the skin of our palms comes with them. There is a хоровод danced by girls with bubbling, shaking knees in a field to the north. They will appease the land, or it will swallow us whole. Thank you. Is there time for another one, Paul?
Yeah.
Bear with, I'm just looking for it. This is, I'm sorry, just try to find it. Okay, yeah, we're gonna do this one. This is called The Sibyl of the Rhine. When I came down, a bird had flown into the kitchen, howling, shrieking, black spotted wings flashing against the window. Omen of death, the terror in listening. The sky had split open, jewels thrown into the hard soil. I stood on rolling glass and knew that I would not fall. I watched the flowers bow and shake off water, calm their lights against the earth. When I came, cold and sweat-drenched from the top of the hill, they'd summoned the spirit from the Holy Land and tied it between two seed pods. The heat remained in the woodland long after the sun passed. They have said to me, "Why are you doing this?" Yet I am so enamored by the color of the velvet, the blazing sunlight trapped within your jewels, the flame at your heel, the dust that passes through the wing feathers. The garden was split into halves by breath and turned from blue to red. I untied the rope, felt the weight against my hands. When I came down, I was impure before God. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. I think it's always really interesting to hear poetry that's at that intersection between really disturbing but also really beautiful.
Thank you.
Very visceral as well. Are you in okay, Brianna? Think so.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, yeah, lovely. Thank you for coming.
Right on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll
Thanks
just
for having me.
So Brianna Ferguson is a writer and educator from the Okanagan Valley in British Columbia. She holds a Master of Fine Arts from UBC, where she also teaches creative writing. Her poems and stories have appeared in various publications across North America and the UK. Her first book, A Nihilist Walks into a Bar, was published by Mansfield Press in 2021.
Thanks very much, Paul. My dog took it upon herself right now to start chewing a bone next to the microphone, so I apologize. Thanks so much for inviting me to this. I apologize to everyone whose reading I missed. I was just teaching the first half of the day and I had to just kind of coast in here the last second. But I really enjoyed your reading, James. You've got a fantastic pacing and great content and stuff. So thanks for that. I'll start out by reading a poem from Travels and Tribulations. I did grab a travel kind of hat, but I left it at the back of the house and didn't want to run back there in the middle of everything with me being so late already. So there's a lot to do. So this poem here, Just Go Man, is about my trip to Australia, my attempt to live in Australia that ended after 2 months due to terrible planning. It's called Just Go Man. At a party, I mention I'm considering moving to Australia. A girl in a hemp wrap and a guy with a barbed wire arm tattoo both say, "Just go, man. It's the only way to do it." I don't know who they are, nor they me, but they seem to know exactly how and when I should leave my family, my home, and go with however much money and street smarts I currently have to a country that lies as far away as one can get from everything I know. I book a ticket, of course, sell my car to my parents, who bought it for me in the first place. I walk out of my lease, dump my inflatable bed and plastic dressers, move the important stuff home. I tell everyone who will listen I'm moving to Australia to surf, though I've never seen a surfboard. I declare I'm going to party and meet new people. I haven't enjoyed a party yet, but I'll be a new person in a new place. I land in Sydney without so much as a hostel reservation. I've never stayed in a hostel, but I've heard things in true crime shows. I book 2 nights at full price in a mid-scale hotel and look for a place to live. By 5 o'clock on the second day, checked out of my hotel, my suitcase at my feet, I'm sitting on a bench in an industrial part of town with no more idea of what I'm going to do than when I booked my ticket. Strange, beautiful, big-footed birds strut around me, sniffing my fear, shitting on the grass, like I might have to if I can't find somewhere to live. I walk through neighborhoods dragging my suitcase, wondering if it would be insane to knock on a door, ask to sleep on someone's couch. I walk to the harbor, see the opera house and the bridge from Finding Nemo. I book 2 more nights at the same hotel, down $500 now. On my 4th afternoon, I sign a 6-month lease on an attic room with a house full of Britons. They teach me how to drink. They teach me to cook. They get me a job at a call center selling printers to reluctant businesses. I book 1 appointment in 2 weeks and am let go. I have $1,000 left and I haven't seen Ayers Rock, Brisbane, the Reef, Tasmania, Melbourne, Perth, or a kangaroo. I go to the Sydney Zoo and I see one. I take a train to the Blue Mountains and freeze my ass off in woods that look exactly like the woods back home. I see a show at the Opera House for my 22nd birthday, Power and Panache. I don't know what panache means, but I'm seeing a show at the Opera House. After 2 months, I fly home with nothing, to a sleeping bag on my parents' floor. I start scrubbing toilets with my mom at the resort up the road. I learn the meaning of panache, and whenever I'm asked about my life down in Australia, I lie. I say I was gone a year and had the adventure of a lifetime. Just go, man, I always say. You'll never know until you go. Thank you. I'm going to read a few more from my new collection, all very travel oriented. Here's a short one that's called Giddy. Remember when we drove to Vegas and I thought I had ALS? 38 degrees in the old Honda. Every drop of moisture ripped through my pores. 40 hours in a sagging seat. I could hardly feel my body. A quick Google search held the symptoms: numbness, tingling, weakness, and of all things, giddiness. And how happy we were in the southern sun. Remember the silver mine in the desert, the stars, blanket sex among the cacti. Until then, I never knew giddiness could be bad. Now every time I'm a little too happy, I wonder, is this the beginning of the end? Or is it just, could it really only be happiness? Thank you. Let's see here. I've got a few from New York. I went to New York 2 years ago, I guess now. And as you can probably imagine, it was breathtaking and mesmerizing and also horrible and dramatic and so on and so forth. This one is called Big Worms. It's another very episodic, true to reality sort of recounting. So here we go. I'd love to rant about all the airport troubles, hotel mix-ups, added expenditures, etc. But travel stories are really only interesting to the travelers. The phrase $500 to rebook a flight doesn't feel anything like the kick in the teeth such a sudden cost really is. Couldn't be further from the heartbreak and the tears on the cheek of the wannabe globetrotter who grew up poor. 3 hours on the tarmac is light years easier than the special lower back pain, ticking claustrophobia and missed connections of such a limbo. Gate closed 2 minutes ago. When your pass says it doesn't close for an hour is nothing like the realization that you're no different from all those people who've killed out of rage. So I'll just say it was a gorgeous trip. A few hiccups, but totally worth it. In Times Square, we saw the big TV screens. Quoted Long Limbs Lenoir, "We was just there." dodged the folks in Mickey and Minnie costumes offering photos. In a cafe around the corner, we found one of the Mickeys, a Latino dude in red velvet pants and oversized shoes eating a sandwich. His Mickey mask lay crumpled on the table, eyes hollow, smile inverted. At the New York Public Library, we stepped over a man covered in piss and shit, lying comatose or dead beneath one of the lions. Safe inside the frigid brick walls, we acted out that wedding scene from Sex and the City, where Carrie realizes Big isn't coming. In a subway station, we spotted a man painted gold, a statue come to life. He tossed a cigarette to the floor with golden fingers, stomped on it with a golden toe, laughed a golden laugh as I stepped in a golden puddle. The Empire State huddled in the shadows of its shiny modern siblings. Alicia Keys belted out of the lobby on an endless loop, promising everyone the same experience no matter when they arrived. In the audience of our favorite nighttime talk show, the Secretary of State called Putin a bitch, said Russia wished she could join NATO, then shredded guitar with the studio band. The audience was largely quiet. Was the world in peril or just one big show? I don't want to tell you travel is a racket, unworthy of the money, time, stress, anxiety, global transmission of infectious diseases, etc. By all means go, be amazed. I wasn't thinking of cost or shattered illusions when the Statue of Liberty thrust her light upon my face, or when the 9/11 memorial wept before my millennial eyes. A few worms in a big apple doesn't mean there isn't still a ton of fruit. Just bite around the bad bits. Like this whole cliche poem. Surely there's something good in here. Surely it's not all a waste of time. Thank you, thank you. I think time-wise, I will squeeze in one more New York one here. I did have a fabulous time in New York, by the way. It's an amazing, beautiful city. So, you know, I just like to complain through poetry. This one's called New York Night. I'm pissed at the price of dinner and can't pretend otherwise. You'd know anyway. We've known each other too many years for a fake smile. $37 for 5 pieces of ravioli is insane, even if Obama did sit here once. Or was it that table over there? Anyway, no wine, no beer, no buffer between the mugging and me. We head for home and you scream a little too loud when a rat bursts out at us from a pile of garbage. The scream smacks of a teen girl who's swiped her parents' vodka and would like the world to know how much fun she's having. I'd love to laugh, grab your arm, gush, yes, it was insane. We only just survived. Aren't we lucky? But all I can manage is a few words on the wildness of the city and the piss puddle you're about to step in. At least I met him, you say later, cracking a Consolation Coors. The restaurateur you've been following on Instagram, the one who shook our hands with his baby soft mitt. I bite my tongue and don't mention. It's really his dad who created the restaurant. So is he really anything at all? Anything besides a pretty face? Thank you. I think that's time for me. And I think that's the last of the travel-oriented poems. So thank you all very much for listening to that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming, Brianna. Can we get A Nihilist Walks into a Bar you can get from Mansfield Press? Do you sell copies?
I've only got a handful left here. It's pretty available on like Amazon and the major book sellers. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I remembered it was on your website.
Oh yeah, gotcha. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, so please do, like, everyone who's read today, please do go and support their books. It's all really wonderful stuff, as you've heard, and I am genuinely really shocked by the amount of talent that like has come and supported the press. I'm really honored to have you all. A lot of you submitted multiple times, which is just, I really appreciate it, and I'm very grateful for all your support and coming along to such as tonight. It's so wonderful to have you all in a room together, and I think we'll definitely have to do it again. It's a shame. It's a shame we've not done it sooner, but I was too scared of all the technical stuff with Zoom and everything. But I think I've got it. So I think we'll definitely do this again. And thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to everyone in the audience for coming. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we all did. And yes, please do go and support all of these writers. You can find all of their social medias on our social media in the post we've done. And I think we'll have to put something out that's listing a reading list, required reading of all their books, and required buying too. People got to eat, right? Right. Thank you very much, everyone. This has been a lovely night. Thank you, Adrian. Yeah, it's been a really good night, and yeah, I hope to see you all very soon. And don't forget, submissions opening soon. Anthology submissions, guest edited by James Rance, who you've heard. Night Terrors. It's going to be a wild book. You want to be there. Get in there. Thank you, everyone. It's been wonderful, and I hope to see you all back here again soon. Right, I'll sign off then. Ta-ra, everyone.
Thanks so much. It was really great. Nice to see everyone.
Yeah, thank
Enjoy
you
your
for coming.
weekend.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much. Toodaloo.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.